matter how unbelievable this story is, just remember that it's true and it actually happened.
In Ghana, an Ashanti woman named Nana found herself arguing furiously at a meeting. She was very angry and her voice was loud as she spoke. The people Nana was angrily shouting at this meeting were not ordinary people. They were rich politicians and important wealthy people that everybody feared and respected. But Nana is raining insults on them, and they quietly listened to her because Nana is the type of Ashanti woman you wouldn't dare play with. All the way in West Africa, in Ghana, was a woman called Asantewaa. Nana was born on October 17th, 1840 in Ejiso in the Ashanti region of Ghana. The Ashantis are part of the Akan ethnic group and are known to be overly proud, and they will fight over everything.
Asantewaa rested in this room anytime she came here at Ejiso Bisiase to pay homage to the shrine here.
Nana was a complicated woman. She was very spiritual and worshipped her family shrine god, Ateko. Nana was born at one of the worst times in Ghana. The British were Ghana's colonial masters and ruled from 1821 to 1957. The British ruled Ghanaians with unfairness and sternness. The Ghanaians did exactly what the British demanded, so they wouldn't get killed. But this proud, typical Ashanti woman, Nana, was not trying to hear none of that. She had no respect for the British. Nana was 5 foot 11 inches and weighed 100 kilos. She was not a pushover. In the 18th century, a woman was nothing but a man's property. Women belonged to men, but Nana went toe to toe with dangerous men with no fear, and the Ashantis loved her. This and her royal ties is why Nana Asantewaa was installed as Queen of Ejiso of the Ashanti Kingdom when she was only 37 years old. In March of 1900, Sir Frederick Hodgson, who was the British appointed governor of Ghana, met with the chiefs of Ashanti, including the Queen Nana at a Durbar. The governor had something very important to discuss. Sir Frederick Hodgson, as he wore his well-ironed uniform and gloves, he told the Ashantis he needed them to do something very important for him. The governor demanded the golden stool be given to him. Now, a stool is a curved seat and considered sacred. Stools are very common in Ghana, but this particular stool, which is 6 by 12 inches, is not an ordinary stool. The golden stool is like God himself to the Ashantis. It's believed to house ancestral souls of the Ashantis. The stool is elegant, made of traditional charms and pure quality gold. The golden stool is so bright and sparkly, if you tried watching it in the daylight, your eyes will hurt. It's so sacred, it's never touched the ground. It's laid on blankets and pillows, and no man living or dead has ever sat on it. Sir Frederick Hodgson convinced the Ashantis to surrender the stool. The governor explained to the Ashantis that this was the only way of establishing real authority. A refusal was not an option. When the governor was done talking, Nana got up from her seat, walked past the governor's translator, and walked straight to Sir Frederick Hodgson and stared at the governor. She took a good look at the governor's face. Then she looked at the governor's gloves and shoes and looked at the governor's face again. Then she shook the governor's hand and angrily left the meeting. The governor suddenly felt something squishy in his palm after the handshake. When the governor looked, it was freshly chewed kola nut soaked with saliva. Nana spat kola nuts she was chewing in her palm before shaking the governor's hand, which was blatant disrespect. Nana went home angry. She's never been this angry. She just couldn't understand how the white man can leave his home to come live on Ashanti land for free, land that doesn't belong to them, and to sprinkle salt in wounds, humiliate and demand whatever they wanted. Some of the Ashanti rulers were afraid of the British, and rightly so, because the British were just too powerful. They ruled about a quarter of the Earth's population as at this time. The Ashanti chiefs asked Nana to give the governor whatever he asked for. The truth is, nobody wants to see their families and loved ones die due to a war over a stool. Nana asked these Ashanti rulers, who were scared of the British, to switch underwears with her because they can't be Ashanti men. The queen went and got her rifle and vowed she'd rather die than surrender her ancestral golden stool. When the governor sent soldiers to retrieve the golden stool he had asked for, these soldiers were met with bullets from the Ashanti rifles. And on April 2nd, 1900, the War of the Golden Stool began. The queen took the role of army commander since no one was up to the task. Some of the Ashanti states stayed out of the fight because they feared for their lives. Nana summoned 5,000 Ashanti soldiers. The queen and army commander didn't just send soldiers to fight. She went with them. She was present on the battlefield, shooting her gun. Nana was just tough. The Golden Stool War lasted for days, and days turned to months. The war was so fierce, there were casualties at both camps. Surprisingly, the Ashanti states, who had earlier on not joined the war due to fear and security, joined their people to fight. The queen and her troops marched to the British military headquarters and took the fight to the British. The British soldiers fled. They had to run because they were overpowered and they were losing logistics. The British governor, Sir Frederick Hodgson, was pursued by the Ashantis and he had to run for his life. The Ashantis lost him and he barely escaped to Cape Coast in the central region of Ghana. On reaching Cape Coast, the governor sent for reinforcement troops from Nigeria. Nigeria is Ghana's neighboring African country, but sided with the British. The Hausa soldiers from Nigeria came to Ghana and aided the British. The British, with the help of the Hausa soldiers, attacked the Ashantis, and during this attack, the queen's daughter and grandchildren were captured. The Ashantis were caught off guard because they didn't expect the Hausa soldiers. After the capture of the queen's daughter and grandchildren, on the morning of March 3rd, 1901, Queen Nanaya Asantewaa surrendered to the British in a ransom negotiation for the release of her daughter and grandchildren. After the queen gave herself up for her family, the war was over. The queen was banished from the Ashanti region and exiled to Seychelles. Even though Nana lost the war, the selfless queen still won because the British looked for the golden stool for a long time, but they never found it. They had to give up on the search in order not to provoke another war. A treaty was signed between the Ashantis and the British, stating the British dare not pursue the golden stool ever. And as of today, the more than 300-year-old golden stool is housed in the royal palace of the Ashanti king in the Ashanti region of Ghana, where it belongs, thanks to Queen Mother Nanaya Asantewaa.